All right, how's everybody doing? Surviving week 10. All right, my name's Kate Darby. I'm a faculty member in environmental studies, and I am taking over managing the speaker series this spring. And we're trying something a little different. We're going to focus around the theme of modeling and engaging in cross-disciplinary conversations. So what we'll see is a series of panels next quarter, each panel organized around a theme or a question, and we're hoping that will create space to learn about the complementary and sometimes in-tension perspectives that folks within the college and elsewhere bring to environmental issues. So I'm really excited about this. We have most of the schedule fleshed out, but there's still more space. So if anyone in this room hears that and says that sounds really fun, or maybe that sounds terrifying, or maybe a little both, but I'd like to learn more, please email me, or there's a QR code to a little form you can fill out and let me know what is of interest to you. Otherwise, just look for the announcement of those panels on the website coming very soon. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Kate. So if you have any interest, go ahead and snap this with your phone. And if you miss that and it dawns on you later, come chat with me or Kate Darby over in Environmental Studies. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Cindy Elliser, who I must say has been an honor working with Cindy and the Salish Sea Institute this quarter. I want to say it's a really, I think, a great team effort to bring this many different cohesive talks together. But I'm going to hand off to you to keep things going today.
Thank you. And I agree with Michael, with you for that. We appreciate the college and the environment and being able to collaborate to bring you these all these different talks that we've had this quarter. So for tonight, I would like to begin by acknowledging that we gather today on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish peoples who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin throughout the San Juan Islands and the North Cascades watershed from time immemorial. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for our indigenous neighbors, and particularly here in Bellingham, the Lummi Nation and Nooksack tribe, for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. I'm very excited to introduce our speakers for tonight. Josiah Feld is the Vice President of PKOLS, there we go, PKOLS, Preserving Knowledge of Land and Sea. I always wanted to switch the letters in there. A nonprofit dedicated to restoring indigenous place names, stories, and relationships across the Salish Sea. He is Strait Salish Sinchathan and Wisanich and Pyramid Lake NUMU Paiute from STOLÞEEÐ�, or otherwise known as San Juan Island. His work brings together family lineage, community organizing, and language renewal to bridge generations separated by borders and colonization. Through storytelling, ceremony, and environmental education, Josiah uplifts ancestral teachings that remind us the land and sea are living relatives, carrying memory, law, and love. Erin Corra is the founder and executive director of FOLKS. That's why I wanted to rhyme with pokes before instead. Friends of Lime Kiln Society, a nonprofit dedicated to inspiring stewardship and connecting people to the cultural and ecological heritage of Lime Kiln Point State Park. Over the 30 years of experience as an educator naturalist, Erin believes awe is the root of stewardship, her mantra inspiring awe into action. Together, whether guiding first-time visitors, watching whales from shore, which is my favorite thing, collaborating with partners, or building programs that connect people with faces, folks and PKOLS goals are always the same, to help people fall in love with the living world and protect it. So with that, I will hand it off to our speakers tonight. Thank you.
STOLÞEEÐ� Siam, STOLÞEEÐEÐ�. Quinas Quinona Hela. Josasinsit Shwalakwa. Pyramid Lake Etu, Josiah, Tathinit Snat, Salaatsan, STOLÞEEÐ�. My name is Josiah from San Juan Island. I'm here to I'm glad to see you all. And I'm honored to be here in front of Western and the Salish Sea Institute to share some of this knowledge. And also I'm here introducing Erin Corra.
Wonderful, thank you, Josiah. And thank you for having us on the speaker series. It's an absolute honor to be here and share with you the work that we've been doing. So we have a cool map here. I'm sure you've all familiarized yourselves with enough. But here on the west side of San Juan Island is what we're doing most of our work with, but kind of really working throughout the Salish Sea. And something that I love about this map is when you kind of tilt your head a little bit to the left, it looks like a heart. So the San Juan Islands, I know I'm not the only one to say this, is the heart of the Salish Sea. So just to dive right in, oh, it does kind of cut off a little bit. Does that disappear eventually? The stuff on the top? Okay, it is what it is. I kind of took things right to the edge on everything on this stuff. But yeah, so I actually started off as a graduate from what was then Huxley College of the Environment. I'm a graduate from Spring Block and a product of Western's wonderful program. And I've been very honored to work with Bert Weber and Jean Myers, Wendy Walker, John Miles, just really wonderful, inspirational people that helped guide me to where I am today. And basically, from once I graduated from Huxley, from the College of Environment, I kind of took off for a little while and was doing different seasonal work and everything. And I sailed to the San Juans to work at Orkyla, and really fell in love with the islands. I'd already been sailing around in the area, but to connect more with the community, I decided that I wanted to actually start rooting down into the islands. Instead of just teaching sense of place and community, I wanted to live it and experience it myself. So that's when I decided to live on San Juan Island, initially as a gardener, because I definitely have ethnobotany and plants in my background. And then about 5 years into living on San Juan, I got a job at Kiln Point State Park as an interpretive specialist. And that was a very major turn of events for me. Living in the keeper's quarters, living in the park, teaching about the love of the place. I was a lifer. I was like, here I am, I've arrived. But 2010 had different plans, and the budget cuts decided to cut all the interp programs. They kind of mothballed everything. And it was pretty devastating at the time. I wasn't sure what to do because my childhood dream had just been dashed away with a stroke of a pen. Fortunately, I had a lot of amazing support then, and people that were very much involved with the park and kind of how things were moving there. Ralph Monroe, here on my side here, he if you guys he's a graduate from Western as well, and was very integral in the banning of the wild captures of the orcas back in the 70s. He was a Secretary of State for over 20 years, and then very, very much integral in the inception of Kiln State Park as it is today. He got the state to buy it from from the Reagan administration for $1. I was like, I have $2, you guys, I have two. But yeah, so it was really important conversations that we're having at the time, not just with Ralph, but also with Bill Ruckel's house there next to Ken Balcom. We were having conversations around what are we going to do about all these people that are attracted and coming to this beautiful place. We can't just close the doors to them. And that connection that interpretation has, and the education programs that we're already running, just we really felt a need to do something different. And that's when we sprung FOLKS, Friends of Lime Kiln Society. And so I consider kind of all these people in this picture co-founders in ways, because of those initial conversations that we're having and the support that they gave me throughout. Yeah, that's my last summer in the uniform. Oh, wait. Actually attach it? Okay. Right. Oh, did I do it? I'm not sure if it doesn't want to change. So yeah, and by 2012, we were an official 501c3, and those are all the fun little things that we kind of are involved with at the park, keeping those things alive and the volunteer programs. Did I do something? Okay, there we go. Got to really snag it. Okay. Wonderful. Well, yeah, and then so here's just kind of a little highlight of the history, the colonial history, at least. That's kind of what I focus on. because that's what I was taught. You know, the state parks and a lot of entities like that are not really touching enough on pre-colonial history. There's inherent challenges with that I know we're trying to work with and work around to be able to share that, because it's very important, very important. There's a lot more that happened before 175 years ago. So that's what has been a real honor to work with Josiah and his family on both sides of the Harrow Strait. But 1860 is when the lime kiln established. There's a huge operation there, second largest to the operation in Roche Harbor. There's probably about 30 different kilns in the area, in the archipelago back in the day. And because of the quality of limestone that was discovered there, yeah, so it was operating for almost 90 years, basically. So major extraction, major forest deforestation, they left a trace. By 1919, the youngest lighthouse in the state, Lime Kiln Point, they lit that up with a fourth order Fresnel lens with kerosene, and then by 1951, it was fully electrified and then automated by 1962. So the lighthouse keepers kind of went more obsolete by then. And then 84 is when it was acquired, and I already shared about how much the state got it for. And then the state, once it was a state park, they restored the one of the two kilns that's right there. Right on the other side of the restored lime kiln is where the county land bank starts. It's about 200 acres of extra interconnected trails and really beautiful area. And they have the other lime kiln there, and you can kind of see how Earth is kind of reclaiming it. It's kind of a neat compare and contrast there if you get a chance to go there. And then 2006 is when the Little Interpreter Center was created from one of the original buildings for the keepers. And this is actually the 20th year anniversary of it. So it's kind of exciting. That's going to be a theme of this season for sure. And then obviously some of the really amazing parts of the park is that you can whale watch from, and just any wildlife goes, it's a never ending story. It's never the same scene from moment to moment. So you get to just sit there and take the world in, and it's just a pretty amazing and awe-inspiring place to be. We get a lot of people through there for being out all the way out on an island. 600,000 people from over 50 countries. So when we're sitting in the Interpreter Center, the world comes to you, literally. And our first question is, where are you from? And then from there, the conversations go, why they came there. Everyone has different reasons, but they're all inspired to be there one way or another. And also the lighthouse for over 30 years has been an orca research lab. Dr. Bob Otis and the Whale Museum have been really keeping that up, just watching what's going on the shoreline and all the different changes that have happened. That huge database is open to anyone that wants access to it, and they can derive whatever they want, kind of questions from it and answers, hopefully. And then also we have a live streaming hydrophone there with the SMRU, the Sea Mammal Research Unit. So that's really interesting to be able to just tune in. A lot of times I'll just listen to it because you never know what you're going to hear when you have the waves crashing or the drops dripping from rain, all the way to the boats going by, and they can't. Unfortunately, the animals can't turn that off. So it gives you a sense of what's going on under the water, and a really interesting passive form of kind of research and understanding what's going on below the surface. And then in 2020, even though the park was closed with COVID, we finally got fiber optic in the park. So we were able to finally put a webcam at the top of the lighthouse, and that's live streaming from the Whale Museum's YouTube channel. So you guys are welcome to check that out anytime. You can either text me, and we can change I get texts all the time. Can you please move this way? I want to see the sunset. Or, oh, I think there's whales over there, So it's pretty cool, though. 24/7, people from all over the world can listen in and watch as well. So I definitely consider this park, this small little parcel of paradise, a microcosm of the Salish Sea. It's just an incredible platform for education and inspiration and stewardship and bringing the community together. So it's pretty special, and I feel extremely fortunate and blessed to be able to do what I do there and work with all kinds of amazing partners. This on the this side is the wine label that we made for the centennial when the lighthouse turned 100. And then also we rent the lighthouse out for weddings and as a fundraiser as well to help the lighthouse pack its own water, so to speak. There we go. So this is just fun collage of different activities. It's really hard sifting through 20 years of photos and events and things going on there. But these are some of my favorites. Here's my friend Sadie. She's talking to some people at the rock wall as some kayakers glide by. She actually has a Sailor Sea map in her hands, and she's talking to people about that. And then we always have at our August event, we have a flyby. My friend Chris Tarrant flies by in his plane and takes photos of us from the top of the lighthouse. And that's always a really fun time. And then we have, actually, there's a Chief Flesheye School along with the Gathering of the Eagles canoe journey. Every year we give a tour to them. And kind of get involved with their group and getting on the water as well. And then, of course, we have our beloved Bert Weber and Shan Weston, two champions for the Salish Sea. And then just one more collage of pictures. The top one is a replica of an orca that a donor gave us. So we have that stationed at the lighthouse there. And then this is one of the first weddings that we had in 2012. That's not me, but I'm still really close with them. I'm actually, most of the couples, I end up, we stay in touch. It's really fun. And then this is Giles. In this group here, she teaches also, she's with Eva. She's Eva's human and trainer, Eva, the whale poop sniffing dog. You might have heard of them before. Dr. Giles, she also teaches at the UW Marine Labs there, and she always brings her groups out, and we do a fun tour. And then this is just one of the photos I took. That's how close they get. They like to slide right through the kelp forest there. Pretty surreal. So, and then this is kind of a little segue slide for Josiah and I. This year will be our third annual Echoes of Senchothan event where we invite Josiah and his family and from across the strait as well, and really just get a better understanding of their history and their stories. And we partner up with some amazing groups as well to make sure that we just give the mic to some folks that haven't really been able to have it in the past. So I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Erin. This is a good segue. So the nonprofit PKOLS was formed because I found places like this were available. And when I grew up in the 1990s, here it wasn't possible for various reasons. But Lime Kiln was a place, it was a platform for people like me to create events and to do things like having Hereditary Chief Seyout, Eric Pelkey come. This was the second year. The first year, we were just trying to figure out and feel out the public for what's possible, but we always had Chioktan's support. He would come and he told some stories, and my grandma was there and her sister as well, who did a prayer in Numu. But this show, yeah, we have quite a few partners, including Alchemy Art Center. They do a T-shirt every year. We had we used Chazzy Tomasing's design. This design here was done by Charles Bloomfield, PKOLS, named after kind of an area where we're from. And yeah, he named this one Love. He would have to explain that one. How do I change slides? Is it this one? Done. So it's kind of cut off at the top, but PKOLS, it's a Senchothan word first. You can see on the left side, Tomasinthet, Charles Eliot Sr., he did this one, the one on the left. And that sign itself is at the top of, it's on Vancouver Island on the top of, it was called Mount Douglas, right? But they spent, including Uncle, spent 19 years getting that changed to now it's called PKOLS. You can Google it, right? But it's a Sinchothan word, and it talks about the origin stories of where the islands came from. And on the right side there is, they're at English Camp, they call it, on Friday Harbor Island. We call it STOLÞHEEÐ�. But it's the relationship that we have with the land and the water and the people themselves and how we're all connected. And it's about the quintillion, the sustainable fishing technology that we use in the islands, and the male and female salmon. Julie James did those from on the outsides there. It's a beautiful thing. But also, so on the other side, the Sinchothan where PKOLS tells the origin story of the islands. And so I use that word, but in the acronym, preserving knowledge of land and sea, because it's perfect. My auntie's the president, right? My mom's the secretary. It's a family thing that we're doing, and we're developing it. But the mission is to restore Indigenous place names. Protecting the land and the water as much as we can. Uplifting our Salish, our Straight Salish, our Coast Salish, Northern, our family with the language that we've been handed down through education, advocacy, and storytelling. And the source of information is, most of it is in a book called Saltwater People. It's published in early 1980s. It's being used in the Saanich School District, has been for, I think, 52 years now. And they just now recently are able to do the all of the graduation and ceremonies in the language. It's new. So we're using this for our Indigenous place name source because the information in this book is rich with ecological knowledge, of historical knowledge, all these things. But there's also translations of those words. None of them are named after people. It's kind of the opposite, but it tells a very specific story if you pay attention to it. So, and also the other book too. There's kind of a follow-up to it, which has quite a bit of knowledge. Right, Saltwater People, Panatch is his traditional name. Dave Eliot Sr. He's one of the founders of the Sinchothan Survival School in STOLÞHEEÐ�, or Brentwood Bay in Vancouver Island. Still talking about PKOLS, we are using also the ethnobotany sources that the Claxton families and everyone that Nancy Turner documented in the ethnobotany books, but there's quite a few PhDs also that were done that kind of worked on more of the place names and the translations of those place names. But we're collaborating with food gardens, prairie food gardens as well, fire ecology on the islands, and the Indigenous knowledge that's associated with that. And some of that we are still have yet to learn and experience. So it's important that PKOLS exists to kind of be a conduit for in the islands because of where we are today in 2026. We don't really have access to this place, but this is the access to some of that knowledge that we need. What was the first one that's on there? It's like blocked off, or it's like cut off. I didn't know we have that. So this, I mean, if you Google, you'll find this language map in the top left. It's from 1800 AD and has village sites. During a time when, Clallam was a big commerce area, expanded a long ways. You can kind of see where it's documented. The one below there, you see Straight Salish language map. It's one I've been working on based on the maps that are in here, doing a story map and working with relatives in Saanich ones that they've already done, and I'm just kind of like going through and seeing where the language map overlaps the surrounding languages. And it's even developed since then because there's the Hokuminum land title and, you know, the other ones that are coming through British Columbia. And so it's important to know where they overlap because here in Galliano and Salt Spring Island and, you know, around where the Cowichan area, the Sinchatan and the Hokuminum language do overlap, right? So where does it overlap on the islands? That's the work that we're doing. The tribes is a colonial term. They didn't exist before the border was there. The boundaries were based more on language and the territories and the families that come from there. Both of these books, they explain the technology, the reef-net technology of the saltwater people. Earl Cluxton Sr., John Elliott Sr. collaborated on this. This published in the 90s. It's kind of hard to find, but this is my grandma's copy. She gave to me as well. 1993, I believe, 94. But it explains the technology, the ceremony behind it, also how it's passed down to future generations. It's all in the book. It's very important, the reef-net technology, mostly because of it being a governance system based on a lot of things. But if you boiled it down, it would be balance and reciprocity. It's called the Shwala. I don't have to tell Uncle sitting in the front row. But the chalice in the back, you can see on the very top right, there's a little hole with a fish swimming out the back. Why would they have a hole in this net, right? Chalice means life, sustainable life. And so these books detail this quite extensively, and it's been there the whole time. I guess a bit about me, but this is important for all of us to understand. On the left there, that's my grandmother Manathlat. She lived during a time where Portland, Oregon area, mouth of Columbia, was called Columbia. It's a big area where a lot of people did business. She was born in the Klallam, Olympic Peninsula area, close to the mouth, from a straight Salish matriarchal society. She was alive during a time when traveling from that point to, say, Point Roberts was not uncommon by anyone. Even my grandmother would do that. And so Manathlat arrives during a time when I guess you could, what they determined was contact, right? There was the 1700s contact, but there was a 1850 contact, right? 1848 or so, somewhere in there. She was there during that time. She learned many things. She studied and she taught her daughters many things. Some were definitely plant medicine. She had a very complicated garden. I'm still trying to learn. She's a midwife and undertaker. And it's where it gets kind of weird when, because she had her first daughter, Cecilia, 1865, that makes her 51 years old if she's born in 1814. Her second when she's 52 years old, my grandma, Mary French. It's interesting and she had 3 daughters with Dick T. Whalum. He's a Lummi chief. They may have been married there. They come here. All of their kids are raised here. 3 daughters only, and the story gets even more interesting than that, but not for today. But those, there on the bottom, those are her 3 daughters that she had, right? On STOLÞEEÐHEÐ�. And so Mary Zequat is her traditional name. Marries Charles French, who's 15 years older than her, right? He comes there because he's a part of a family who's, part of them are going up for the gold rush. The island was not a permanent place for them. They got employment at the lime kilns to continue up to Alaska for the gold rush. It happened to a lot of people. And that was the same time of the pig war, right? Same exact time. And she's buried there on the island. That's the reef-net weight that she handed down to my grandma, that my grandma gave to me now. That's the picture of there. She taught a lot of medicine. She taught it to her oldest daughter, who survived quite a few people on the island from cholera and the smallpox epidemic that happened. There was 2. So she definitely taught her oldest and her daughters plant medicine. She hunted octopus. We still have her amazing spear. She was a Sieyawa, which in Salish is a seer, but it's she could help people, not just with medicine, but in other ways too. She did help bury quite a few people, learning, and but one thing that it's important to know, that going back to her mom, when that was during the time of the contact, and later on when Isaac Stevens came and land allotment time was discussed, they couldn't go to Monathlot. It couldn't go to Mary French's mom herself. It had to go to their descendants. But it was strange how she was never enrolled, and she was also never enumerated for land or tribal allotment. There was only an application made, and all of the applications were denied land allotment in the Quileute reservation. So she found a way to make it. This was their plan. They were treated differently as a result of it, but they knew what they were doing, because I'm standing here today. Her husband, Charles French, was a cooper. That means they made the barrels for the lime at first, because the lime processing was the economy at the time, but also for the salt that they would put the salmon in, would dry the salmon for that. And this is a group of people at Lime Kiln, right? I don't know who that young boy is, but that's very interesting, and standing in that rubble. In the bottom, Cornelius, that might be him, perhaps, because he was named after Carney Coughlin, who founded that after Lyman Cutler shot that pig, and he used his political power and money to start the lime kiln. But my great-grandfather is named after him, Cornelius, because of that relationship that they had with the lime kiln there. Mary French's oldest sons, they're not in this. This is her 4 youngest. Erin and John, they were both quarrymen at the Roach Harbor and Orcas Island at the lime kiln, 7 miles down the street from where I live right now. I know that because on their World War I applications, they wrote it down. There's no stories about it. I'm sure there's a lot of stories. But the only reason I know is because of those World War I applications. Yeah, his beautiful people, right? Tomasantha, he had a joke about how our families had the pretty problem. Okay, it's something that I don't know. It's a funny joke, but they're absolutely beautiful people. Vila, there on the top, Vila French, looks like she has maybe a hula necklace on or something, but the only reason that we have any pictures in this book, other than the one from Edward Curtis, is because of our historian Vila. She owned a camera. So Cornelius was born 1907, so he was maybe 6 or 7 in this photo. This would have been taken 1913, 1914. And this is John French. It's him as a young boy. It's John, a little older. They did quite a bit on the island, and one was fishing, most definitely. But they found a way to survive. But the first opportunity they have, they were ready to leave. And that's pretty much the reason why I started it was I want to get back to that original idea of forming PKOLS, and my association with folks is You know, when I brought my grandma to the island, to the new American Camp Interpretive Center to show her the new work that they have done to show the history of the indigenous people, was exciting for us. I hadn't been in a long time. And there was a lot more improvement. There was a lot of history there, but none of the history that I was told growing up, none of the history from my grandma that she understood, graduating high school there in 1949, right, and being raised by her grandmother there. So I found it very important to tell the accurate history of the islands. And I'm not the only one that wants that to happen. But the problem is the border. The reason that this isn't in the library, it's at Northwest Indian College, but the reason it's not is because it's in a Canadian school district. But it's about the history of the islands. And so I feel like not enough people are paying attention to those details, and just using the word STOLÞEÐEÐ�, you know, instead of San Juan Island is very important. It's the very first piece of why PKOLS exists, is to go back to when we used this way of life, when we used this way of thinking, because these words matter. The translation for San Juan Island, or STOLÞEÐEÐ�, is a place way through or place way out from, because it was used as like a highway, basically, this place. And it still is. Orca, people, and everything. So I wanted to tell that story because it's important because of our ecological matters, our environmental issues that we have. It's going to take all of us. I get it now. It absolutely will take all of us. We have multiple things happening at once, not to mention the tar sands oil tankers that are going to be coming through that nobody wants to talk about. Not enough people want to talk about, because there is no plan for when something like that happens. And so partnering with people like folks where we have more access to bring more people together who may not have had a voice in the past, but could offer something, is why folks matters and why PKOLS isn't going anywhere, because it's absolutely something that is for all of us. Did you want to talk more about this one? We did at the very top, we did a prayer walk. Auntie was there, our family was there. Who else was there? There was lots of people there. Family from Wasanich was there. And we did a 4-day prayer walk around the island, praying for the people and the people in the water as well, just to get attention to, because we're not going to change the way the international commerce works, but we can change the way our community sees the border, because we get to choose, right? It's up to us. And so this is what we did, and we're going to continue to do that work. Because you can't go on the west side of the island right now and take a photo without getting one of these tankers in your picture. I'm out there every day, and I can tell you that. And so, again, PKOLS is still looking for partners for ecosystems, prairie ecosystems. We're looking at kelp farms, herring reefs, right? Those are the things that we're interested in doing, as well as the language. But if we're not here to, if nobody's here, there's no reason to for anyone else to to rename anything anymore. So, did you want to say anything more about these?
Thank you, Josiah. Well, it just says at the top, call to action. So just really important. We see a lot of people in this room that we've partnered with, we've interacted with, they're part of the community. So everyone's doing amazing work that's necessary. There's more than enough work, and need for people to do that. So human power is important, just simply volunteering for organizations that you believe in that are making a difference, that could make more of a difference if you get involved. Things that are happening at the park. We have our interpreter center is important to keep open. Those doors are important. We're not just fundraising for the park, but we're also deepening people's connection to that place, and hopefully they can take that home wherever they are in the corner of the world and do something for their own backyard and their own communities. So that you can see the list of different opportunities involved there. Of course, donating and having money and flow. There's always operating costs alone. That is a lot. To be a nonprofit, there's costs, So, but any nonprofit that you feel and believe in is worth donating towards. And of course, remember, really voting with your dollar. What you actually create, demand for, is what is going to be, we're going to see coming in on those Costco boats, or, so I think that's one of the bottom line things that I always tell people and remind them. It's not the first time. And definitely get involved with people that are making decisions on a political level. I'm not really interested in politics, but I know it's important to be involved and understand. And likewise, just sharing the love, and because this place is pretty volatile these days outside in that world. So I think it's important that we stay connected and find ways to share the love. So definitely stay tuned. There's always more going on. That I just a little bit about the pictures that you're seeing. Beautiful Sadie and cousin Josiah with Uncle Charles's and the beautiful carvings there at English Camp, and the lower one. This is another one that Chazzy Elliott we collaborated on for our 2024 Echoes of Sunshaw. That was what we used for the screen printing, so people can bring their own shirts or tea towels or anything and take something home custom made in the moment at the event. And then this picture up here on the top, that's myself and my mom, my biggest fan, volunteering whenever she would come out and visit, and that's inside the Interpretive Center. We really work on having local and locally inspired things there that people can enjoy and take home with them as their mementos and remind them of their experience. And then the bottom two photos there, you might recognize Cindy in there too. This last summer, Ross Newport and a group of us all collaborated and got a good a flotilla of boats going across the border to Salt Spring, and hopefully this will become something that is more annual as well, where they come visit us, we visit them, we are neighbors, and we want to share the love too. So those are those fun photos there. And that's mostly it for now. Thank you, Aishka.
We have about 5+ minutes for
Okay.
some questions.
Good. Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, and thank you also to Josiah and his family. And it's been an absolute honor, all the above. So, any questions?
You talked about $100. Wondering if you have any advice on, where to spend your money, what you should buy.
Oh, that specifically. Right. So as far as voting with your dollar and being more specific about that, well, I absolutely I think just buying local, right? And go to your farm stand. Go as close as you can. My friend Carrie up there, she has this amazing farm on Baker Highway, and every time I come to Bellingham, I stock up on duck eggs and blueberries and whatever I can. Places that the hard work is being done and it's being done well. The land is being loved, the animals are being loved. So it's things like that. You just finding that alone is going to change and make a difference. But yeah, absolutely, things that are more harmoniously grown and raised, with the planet in mind.
My advice for vote with your dollar is get involved first. Don't just blindly donate money or whatever. Get involved first, see what they're doing, meet the people, volunteer a little bit, right? And then use your dollar to vote. That's my advice.
Back there, Travis. Yeah, well, there has been, we had a page and then we're like, we're gonna forget someone. So is numerous amounts. White Swan has been amazing to be involved with. Oh, okay, so as far as partnerships and who has been involved with us or we've been involved with as well. I think that's more or less what it was, right? Yeah, I'll let you answer as well.
Partnerships, very important. For me, it was transboundary partnership, rematriate stewardship. On this side, absolutely welcome intergenerational high school and White Swan Environmental, for sure. And was our number one because of education, because of they're already doing it. They're just they've already paved the way, and there just needs to be more focus on it, more people focused, and more conduiting. You know what I mean? More people that can build, more people that can create, right? Because education is the thing that is the missing link. We need to be on the same page, first of all, and using that information wisely to move forward together.
Right. Well, and as far as on the island, different groups we're working with is like Kwiat to do some really cool garden potential, indigenous gardening, and the national parks, state parks, county parks, preservation trust, land bank. It just all the different groups that have a hand in kind of any education or connection to the place. We've definitely, and also bringing Sinchotha a little bit more to the scene on San Juan itself. But absolutely, there's a lot of amazing work already being done. So it's just, where are those gaps potentially? Where are those opportunities to connect more? So absolutely open to any and all of the above on that, for sure. Okay. Ooh, top priority for folks. Well, I think it's partnering. Definitely. Folks kind of exist out of a need, and in a way, state parks and entities like that kind of silo themselves just inherently in the communities that they exist in. But this is their backyard. So I really like to be a conduit to the community and having events and bringing all the school groups in. So I think it's just absolutely crucial to continue to really develop what's already happening on the island, but also bring more to the island. At one time I was working with this wonderful woman, bringing all the fourth graders from Bellingham to the park. They'd get on a bus early in the morning, drive onto the ferry, go to Lime Kiln, and then leave and get at home at like 9 at night. And that was their destination. I mean, this lighthouse and this place is a destination in a way that's what lends it to be such an incredible platform for education and for anything you can think of that you might want to do there. And so, just 2 years ago when I met Josiah, it was automatic. There was missing parts, the pre-colonial aspect of the west side of San Juan Island in particular. We look across to Vancouver Island to PKOLS every single day, and we think about what's going on over there. It's only 10, 12 miles away, so it's an incredible opportunity. And what's going on too is that the national parks and state parks, they're only allowed to really talk to confederated tribes as their constituents, tribal constituents, and it's an unfortunate gap there, that not everyone is in a tribe and not everyone is on the United States Confederated side. So they need to find ways to cross the border and talk more with the families and the people that might not necessarily be given a voice, and bring that history back to life before those borders kind of cut it off. So it's really key.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're over class time.
Okay, thank you, you guys.